Hi, it's Marc Champ here from the Wharf Academy. Today we're here with Oliver James, who is a property investor and also owns his own brand and marketing company. Hi, Oliver, how are you?
Well, thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Thanks for coming on. So we've known each other for quite a while now. I think we met at one of the training events 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was. And you've been on a bit of a journey with your property investments. Do you want to tell everybody what you've been doing and what sort of thing you look at?
Yeah, absolutely. It has been a journey. It's been an interesting ride, I'd say. But it started off fairly organically, fairly slowly, just in the buy to let route. So we started off just without any experience or any understanding or knowledge at all. We simply started off just buying a 3-bed semi-detached house. Did a very light refurb on it, rented it out, and then sort of just let it go. And the reason why we sort of were able to progress was through just understanding, learning. Like I say, we went through various trainings, networking and so on, and where we met, and then realized that there's a faster route, which was by adding more value to the property, and then we just learned as much as possible, and that was with myself and my business partner and brother, and then just got an understanding of how we could actually add value, and that's what we've been doing then on. So we've been doing a few. We did a commercial conversion, which was an office into flats, and we've also done a few conversions as well, mainly flats in London. So yeah, we're building up the portfolio now, which is mainly by recycling cash, by obviously getting new finance on the property.
I see. And the one word I picked up on there was it's been an interesting journey. I had somebody come to me last week and say, we're looking to get into property because it's a passive investment. I presume interesting and passive don't really go hand in hand.
It's a good point. I would say that the interesting part of that was either before or after the property was rented out. So interesting. We did one project, and the person who sourced us the deal, absolute crook. I'm not going to name a name, although I would love to. So I think there is it's all about doing due diligence on the person who's sourcing property. That's a really massive takeaway. Don't just take their word by it. That's a huge learning curve that we did, and found out that we weren't able to actually turn it into a HMO that we were looking to do. It's a house of multiple occupancy. So we had to quickly work out how we're going to actually make money on this property. And working with an architect, we realized that we could turn it into 2 flats. So that's what we did. And the build that we used, again, wasn't amazing. So that was quite a steep learning curve as well. And then when turning it into 2 flats, they're just buy to lets effectively, and we rented them out, and no problem at all. That was fairly passive. However, it became not passive at all when there's a big flood, and obviously we needed to sort that out. We need to get the builders back in there, sort the whole problem out, and then get new tenants because they had to move out. So that again wasn't passive. We then got new tenants, all fine. Again, completely passive for another year. And then the flood happened again.
And what's caused this flood? Was it a natural disaster, or was it a leak?
It was the rogue builders that we had.
Ah, dear.
Yeah, they were cowboys, I think, because so in between the 2 flats there's a ceiling void, and they simply were using plush fit, but they just fit the pipes together.
Yeah.
And I think that I know that they didn't use the correct connections to the 2 pipes, and they didn't attach it to the beams, so that when the water was going through, the pressure was the pipes were just moving everywhere.
Right.
So they're just loosening. When the pressure was built up, they just burst. We also found that in one of the pipes, the plumber must have just stirred a paint pot with it and then put the pipe together.
Wow.
So yeah, again, due diligence in who you're working with, on who the builders are. So we learned a lesson, or painful lesson. Luckily, fortunately, because we added a lot onto the gross GDV, gross development value, we were still profitable in it, but a huge learning curve. And that was our first proper development, first refurb development. But I'd say that all the others, they have been 95% passive. The only other issue that we had in one of them was the washing machine went. But other than that, now we're really concentrating on actually making sure the property is a very good standard. The tenants are really vetted, that making sure that they're the right tenant, reference checks and so on. And because of that, they have become pretty passive.
Yeah.
But we have to obviously get there by learning the lessons to make sure that we overcome them. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally empathise with you. I'm just coming to the end of a full refurbishment and reconfiguration of a property, and it's anything but passive if you get the wrong people involved. We learned that pretty quickly, and you have to allow extra money for that to happen, because that will happen at some point in your property journey, and time as well. The time that it takes to fix everybody else's mess is very difficult, and in the end, you end up being the full project manager. Even though you may have employed a project manager, you can be that project manager as well. So it's not, in the first instance, like you're saying, for me, a passive income. And then, you look at it from the finance point of view. Hopefully, we try and make your life as easy as possible, but we still have to request identification, proof of address, fill out this form, fill out that form, get the valuers round, talk with solicitors, all that sort of stuff that happens in the background. And the customer needs to do part of that as well, the property investor. The broker can't do every part of it and can't take everything away. And that takes time. You have to talk to agents, you have to market the properties, and it's difficult. I understand that. So getting the right people on board early is, as I see it, very important, from the building, the finance, the solicitors, and it helps if you get recommendations on that. So
100%, yeah. I think a really good thing is always trying to build up a very strong team. Like I said, solicitors and so on, brokers, and I like to use a traffic light system. So you get a recommendation, and I'd rather go for a recommendation than trying to find someone else myself. So always hunting for good recommendations, and they receive they're on a traffic light system, so they get 3 lives effectively, and they always start on green. And if they mess up in any way, or they're just not getting back to you, that's one of the life gone. So then they're on amber. And then again, if they do something that you wouldn't see as professional, or that they're not helping you in any way, then they lose that life. They're on red, and then they're out. So then you're looking for someone else to fill the space. And I think that's a really good way of building up a very strong power team, and then all working together.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It is interesting that you have that system, and I haven't heard you mention that system before. But one of the things that I have is we have a lot of lenders who we go and see, and I have a little test I do on them. And this is it's probably a silly test, but it sort of tells me what type of person they are. If they keep me waiting more than 20 minutes, I won't deal with them. And it's just one of the things you if you're talking to somebody and you've got a meeting with them, you want to meet with them straight away at the time that you agree. And if I'm kept more than 20 minutes, they won't get a deal. Or we have so many lenders that come to us asking us to do business. The BDMs, I would say, for us, for 20-30% of them are good. Very good. there are quite a lot that aren't as good.
High percentage are not good.
It is, and the BDM role, I've done it before, and it's a difficult role because you are going out to see brokers and you've got the relationship part, but you need to understand credit criteria, and that changes a lot. And I know when I was at Shawbrook, the credit criteria was changing all the time. It was an early phase of a challenger bank, and that was hard to keep up with. And being able to tell the brokers or the customers what the credit criteria was accurately is more difficult because it changes all the time. But it's all about creating those relationships and earning yourself a little bit of time with the customer or the broker. And if something goes wrong, trying to fix it and trying to do what you can. And I think your traffic light system is something that customers and investors, developers should look at. And I think one other thing that you've done that you've probably done better than anybody else is negotiating. You probably negotiated harder with us as a broker than any other customer. And I don't know if that's a
good thing or a bad thing.
It's a bad thing for me, but it shows. But it does show to me that you've put the numbers together correctly. And we so often get customers come to us with a development appraisal that doesn't make sense. They've put in a 5% contingency, and that 5% contingency isn't going to be enough. Things like floods happen. When you're negotiating with somebody and talking to them, you get an idea very early on whether their numbers are going to be right just by talking to them. And your negotiating showed that you knew what you were doing and you were a customer or an investor, developer that we wanted to talk to because you knew what you were doing. Even though it was quite early on in your property journey. I think you'd done one before, I think.
Did two before, yeah.
Two. Was it up in Middleton, wasn't it?
So the one that you worked on with us, it was up in Middleton, yeah.
Yeah, so it was... it was interesting. It was interesting.
Funny enough, with that project, we were, so after all the costs, so like you said, solicitors, brokers, all the building, everything, we were around about £500 away from the number that we envisioned at the start. Yeah.
Wow.
Which is that we actually couldn't believe. It was just so close.
That is. And did you have a method you used to get the figures so accurate?
The method that we used was, well, obviously it was down to getting quotes, making sure that when we're doing the numbers, that we had a best case, worst case, and expected case.
Yes.
And then when we were offering on the property, that then meant that if it went, if we didn't get the best case, went to then sort of expected case, the numbers then accommodated to suit the new figure, and then just making sure that no unnecessary costs were spent. And I think we were probably lucky because there's always going to be costs that come out from nowhere, unexpected costs. And at the start of that project, we were going to be under, and then it ended up pretty much on balance, because there were some unexpected costs. We were going to be under to start off with, and then it leveled out. But it all seemed, for us, it just seemed like it was, self-explanatory. We just went through and did what we thought was right.
Yeah. So 2 questions then. Firstly, when you're bidding for a property or you've got an interest in a property, how do you know if it's something you're definitely going to go for? And I know the numbers obviously have to stack up, but what I've heard people who come to us, they're often afraid of actually doing it and getting involved in a property because they don't know what's behind the walls and, under the floor and all that sort of stuff. So when do you take the plunge and how do you make that decision?
So what the project we're doing now is very nice and simple, buying a 1-bed flat and turning it into a 2-bed flat. And the way we do that is simply taking the kitchen, moving it into the living room, and then turning that kitchen into the second bedroom.
Okay.
There's obviously a few bits of criteria you need to do to make sure that it's, you know, it's fire safe and so on, and the room sizes are correct and there's no inner rooms and so on. But with that type of project, it's pretty straightforward. There shouldn't be any really real scary unknowns in that. So we can pretty much see the property. We don't need to take anyone to come with, like, any builders or anything to come with us. Beforehand, we were taking builders with us.
Right.
Like if we were doing, if we're looking at other types of developments or so on, then we would take a builder with us that he can actually see many more things that we couldn't see, and would say, well, you know, stay clear of X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
But now we're going into these flats. There isn't really any scary unknowns. If there's a little crack, as long as it's not, you know, massive, if it's a tiny little hairline crack, that's absolutely fine. You know, there's not going to be any problems there. If there's any concerns, we would get a survey on it.
And would you do that before you've done anything? Would you get a survey up front?
If we felt like we needed to, yeah, for sure. And that's a massive lesson we've learned, is how to mitigate risk. And it's all about mitigating risk. Before, we were looking at lots of projects. The amount of money that we wasted on going through projects, and time as well. So we're going through projects, we put the offer on, got it accepted, and then we're going through the whole sales process. And then something came up that we were like, oh, I don't think that's right. So then we may get a survey on it after all of that. We'd have spent money on it, on things already, and then spend another 550 quid on a survey. And before you know it, you spent over £1,000, and then you come up to a blockage, and, you know, you have to move away from the property, which looks bad on you. You've potentially killed a relationship with the estate agent. You know, if you're doing it multiple times with brokers, then, you know, you're not going to want to work with that type of developer. So it can kill time, relationships, and money. So just making sure that before any serious money is going down, yeah, absolutely, do a survey for sure.
Okay, because I would say most of my customers wouldn't do a survey beforehand, and that, yeah, I think that's because they don't want to put that little bit of money in before. Most of them won't do it, but it is a good idea. You know, if you get a friendly valuer that can give you a steer, then yeah, you know, that's fine. And we do try and introduce valuers to our customers early on.
But back to we were saying negotiating. It can be a really powerful form of negotiation. So we were doing a project before where we got a survey on it before anything else.
Yeah.
Pretty much agreed a price. We did actually agree a price. We agreed a price. I can't remember the price of it now. Let's just say 160k. It was up in Manchester, and got a survey on it, and they indicated a few things that were wrong with the property. We then spoke to the builder, got a quote for what the works would be, and it was about £4,000.
Yeah.
So I went back to the estate agent and said, I've had the survey on it. It's come back. Here's the issues. We believe it will be around about £10,000 for the works. So I mean, they knocked £10,000 off the price.
Okay.
It was a very good negotiation tactic.
Yeah, no, that does seem a good thing, and yeah, I think doing it that way could save you a bit of money in the long run. So yeah, something for the viewers to consider. Another question then, the second question was the spec of the properties. How do you decide what level of spec you put into the properties?
So effectively, it's make it look really nice, modern, clean, you know, something that people are going to be attracted to, but not spend too much money on it. So there's a fine balance. There's an in between. You know, you don't want to spend, you don't want to get absolute cheap, tacky stuff because it won't last. You want to make sure that you're getting high quality stuff that's going to last, but still obviously always looks good. Yeah. So we're with LMPG. LMPG are Landlords National Purchasing Group. You know, absolutely amazing. and it's basically a subscription that you'd pay for, every year. It's about 200 something quid, but they have unbelievable relationships with various other sort of retailers like Magnet, for example. So we get 73% off a Magnet kitchen.
Wow.
So we're able to put in a decent kitchen that would have been, retail price of around about £7,000. We're getting them about £2,000. So we're able to actually still put good quality stuff in, but keep the cost down. So making sure things like that really just don't need to spend a huge amount on it, but you want to make it look good and last.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing. You want to make sure that if you're putting a carpet down, it's going to last at least 5-10 years.
Yeah.
So you don't want to get the cheapest of the cheap, because that will only last a few years.
Yes. No, that's interesting to hear that. And I didn't know there was such agreements available to get the products cheaper. So that's good. Hopefully people can take note of that. So you don't just do property investment. Your marketing, what can you offer people on that? What is it you do exactly?
That's right, yeah. So I run a brand and marketing agency called Property Branding, and we specialize in property space only. So the only clients that we work with are property investors and developers. And yeah, that's right. We found it so helpful for our clients. Our clients find it really beneficial because we speak the same language. As you can understand, we're in property as well, so completely understand exactly what our clients are doing. And when marketing a business or branding a business, it's really helpful understanding the client and what they're doing and who their target audience is. That's what makes it really effective. So yeah, completely in the property space. We're either working every day on the property business, or we're helping our clients to build their businesses up. And really, it's falling into three.
And you see the property marketing side of it. It is interesting because when I used to go to quite a few of the training courses and talk to people there, and often you would get somebody with a business card and it just didn't look professional, and you knew that they were very amateur, and this product that they were trying to sell to me as a professional property investor wasn't actually there, and you could tell that very early on. And the ones who do have the brand, and it's even when I see on LinkedIn, you're talking to a property developer, and if they've got a good brand, you know that they're serious about being a property investor or developer, and it makes a difference, and it really does set them apart from other people. So I think it is very important, and I've seen the work that you've done, and it is very good. And you've written a book, haven't you, as well?
Yeah, we've written various ebooks and guides just to help obviously add value to a lot of people, whether that be about social media or how to raise investor finance, and that's all through brand and marketing. You're right. There's so much lack of understanding in the property space about the power of brand and marketing. Like I say, we've been on training courses, and all they're telling people is go to Fiverr, get a logo, and then just post on Facebook. But actually, that's such damaging advice. If you think about it, like you said, if you're giving a cheap business card over with a template logo that 90% of people have, it's portraying an image of you that you don't want people to see. So you look cheap, you look lazy, don't look professional. So no one's going to really want to work with you. So by flipping on its head and making sure that you're putting a message out there right, you're connecting with the right people, you can then attract the right people much more effectively. You're going to make much more money. You're going to really fast track your property journey and career by spending a little bit of money, a little bit of time, a little bit of focus on the forefront. It's going to catapult you forward. Because like you say,
I do agree with that, and we're at a bit of a crossroads at the moment about it's not our branding, it's the way that we present ourselves to customers, because we've been going a few years at Wharf and we've got some very experienced people, but when we first engage with a customer, we email over our forms, which go as either an Excel form or a Word document. But we're looking now to create some sort of cloud so customers can go to our website, download the forms that they need, and they're all branded and look a lot more professional, because they'll do exactly the same thing, but it's the perception that you need to get across, that you are a professional organisation and the first class service that people expect. So even in every walk of life and everything that people do, it's the way you present yourselves will help you go further, I would say.
100%. And it's harsh, but it's true. And people do judge a book on their cover. So it's like going to a networking event or an interview. If you go there with, you smell and you've got really tacky clothes that have holes in, you're going to sort of move away a little bit. You're not going to really take them seriously. And then they're saying to you, oh, I've got this amazing property. Do you want to invest in it? Straight away, you're thinking, absolutely not. Mm. That's the same if you've got a really cheap, tacky business card and your website is, poor looking as well. You're going to stay away from it. So coming across professionally, looking credible, and demonstrating that you are a professional, because that's what we are as property investors. We're professionals, and I think that's what a lot of people are missing and forgetting is, rather than sort of saving money, it's going to cost you a fortune in lost opportunity. Yeah,
I totally agree. And I think, I know you can add a lot of value to other property investors. So if people want to get hold of you, what's the best way of doing so?
Yeah, so you can drop me an email, and it's oliver@propertybranding.co.uk. Or go on, our social, which is @propertybranding. That's obviously the marketing business. We've got the property investment and development business, which is Hyde Property Group. So yeah, reach out on email or get in touch via Instagram. Obviously on Facebook as well, it's Oliver James. So there's various different ways that you can reach out to me, check out some of the content, try and get some value from a lot of the guides and the ebooks that I've written. There's lots of content producing as well, all about how to help people, either to raise investor finance or to produce a brand or to how to structure a website, because that's also key. So there's lots of different ways of finding me and getting value from me, hopefully.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for appearing today. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And hopefully we'll be able to do some work together going forward. And if people have liked this episode, please do subscribe to the Wharf Academy. You can also find us at Wharf Financials, and you can email us at info@wharffinancial.co.uk. So thank you very much, and we will see you all soon.